In this little talk, I'm going to discuss about one of the types of biblical lyres played in the Temple of Jerusalem by the Levites to accompany the singing of the Levitical Choir. This is called the Nevel in Hebrew. Let's firstly quickly explain the difference between the lyre and the harp. The confusing thing is, the word Nevel is commonly mistranslated in English from the Hebrew as harp, but the harp was not played in Israel at all during the biblical times. In fact, the only harp played in Israel dates way back to around the first dynasty of ancient Egypt, about 3000 BC. And that was seen on a fantastic illustration in Megiddo, a rock etching shows a completely formed harp. So what is a harp? A harp is a big unwieldy instrument, not very portable, and the strings enter the resonating chamber directly. The lyre, on the other hand, is much more portable because the strings, instead of passing into a big resonating chamber, simply pass over a bridge, like on a guitar or a banjo. And what was the reason, I think, that the lyre replaced the harp in ancient Israel? Well, because we know from the biblical text that the ancestors of the ancient Hebrews were nomads. If you're going to sort of wander around the desert on your camels, or whatever you're going to do, you can't carry a big harp. It's not possible. But you can carry a lyre. So that's one of the reasons I think the lyre replaced the harp in ancient Israel. So that's a bit of background about harps and lyres. Next little point, what do we know about the actual Nevel? Confusing, because in Hebrew, in the Hebrew language, the vowels aren't written down, so all you have is the root of the word, N-V-L. And that can be pronounced either Nevel or Naval. And in ancient Hebrew, they mean completely different things. Nevel means skin bottle or wine skin, implying a lyre shaped, quite narrow like a wine skin or a skin bottle. But if it's pronounced Naval, that means carcass. And that can mean skin, as in carcass, like skin by itself, which can mean, for example, a lyre with a soundboard made of skin, very similar to the ancient Greek lyre, which had a piece of leather, taut leather stretched over a tortoiseshell resonator. I'm in favour of this version here, of it having a skin soundboard. Reason for this is from the very few illustrations we have of what the biblical lyres look like. These can be found in this amazing book, Music in Ancient Israel Palestine by Jacqueline Brown. This is available from Amazon. Check it out. Let's just go and have a look at page, if I can find it, page 291, which shows illustrations of the biblical lyres on the Simon Bar Kokhba coins. Simon Bar Kokhba wanted to overthrow the Roman occupation of Judea, and over all the Roman coins that he could find, he overstamped these pictures of temple instruments to inspire his rebels to rebuild the Jewish temple. Here we go. This illustration, I think, represents the biblical kinnor, and you can see that it seems to represent the reverse of the instrument, and this little line down the middle no doubt represents a strap which used to hold the instrument. I'll just pick this up and show you what I mean. In the reverse, it looks the same as the picture on the coin. Let's put this down. Whoops. The instrument below it is the one I'm interested in. These instruments seem to represent another type of lyre, which I think could be the biblical Nevel. Some academic boffins interpret these coins as being these lyres as being seen from the front. This is very confusing because they say that the strings seem to mysteriously enter the resonating chamber like on a harp. But that only applies if you interpret this as from the front of the instrument. If this is the reverse of the instrument, it all makes sense. Let's just turn this around, and hey presto, it looks the same as the coins. There you go. They're not passing into the body of the instrument at all. It's from the other way around. Let's put this down so we don't break the thing. So this little circular structure presumably represents the skin stretched over a resonating chamber, very similar to the ancient Greek lyre. Amazing book. And not only that, these two types of lyres can be found at least 200 years before the time of Simon Bar Kokhba. Here's some coins from just past 100 BC, and these from coastal town called Akko in ancient Israel. This is page 288 in this book. Here we go. The same two basic types of lyre. This one looking very much like one on the Simon Bar Kokhba coin, the Nevel, and the other one seems to represent the other type of lyre, like the kinnor. Fascinating. All the historical details can be found on my website, www.ancientlyre.com. Check it out. Right. So what else do we know? That's a bit about the Hebrew. We know also from the Mishnah, that's an early rabbinical text. In Arak 2.5, it tells us that no fewer than 2 Nevels and no more than 6 were used in the Levitical ensemble, whereas there were proportionally a lot more kinnors played, no fewer than 9 kinnors, and more may be added. Now this could imply that the Nevel was a bass instrument. If you look at the modern string orchestra, there are proportionately fewer basses and cellos than violins and violas. And it could also indicate that the Nevel might have been a slightly louder instrument, because there was fewer numbers of it. Also from the Mishnah, the clue to this being a bass instrument, bass register instrument, from Quinim 3.6, it tells us that the lower part of the sheep's intestines, the thicker intestines, were used to make the strings, whereas the kinnor used the upper part, the thinner part of the sheep's intestines. So it had thicker strings, and I think it was a bass instrument, to be honest. What else do we know from extra biblical sources? Well, we know from the writings of Josephus Flavius. He was the 1st century Jewish historian who actually witnessed the Levites play the lyres in the Temple of Jerusalem. He tells us that it had 12 strings, and it was played with the fingers, whereas the kinnor had 10 strings and was played with the plectrum. Quite fascinating number of strings. Why are there 12 strings on the Nevel? I think to represent the 12 tribes of Israel, because the Levitical priests also wore a breastplate with 12 gems representing the 12 tribes. Why did the kinnor have 10 strings? Hey presto, I think it's to represent the 10 commandments. And not only that, when you add the 12 strings of the kinnor and the 10 strings of the 12 strings of the Nevel and the 10 strings of the kinnor, you get 22, the number of letters in the Hebrew alphabet. I think that's one of the earliest examples of Kabbalah and the spiritual significance of the Hebrew alphabet, because the Hebrew letters also represent numbers, and in Kabbalah, since the word of the Lord, word of God, was supposed to bring about the existence of the universe, and the word of God was spoken in Hebrew, hey presto, that's why the ancient Israelites attach so much spiritual significance to the actual Hebrew alphabet. Who knows? Anyway, check it all out. It's in my website, www.ancientlyre.com. And in the link section, there's a whole section devoted to lyre makers. Say, this instrument is made by Mid-East ethnic instruments. Check it out. Bye for now.